Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Looped In with Martiza. My name is Martiza Gertie, Deputy Director of Parent Voice for the National Parents Union. I hope that wherever you are watching me from, you are cool. Right now, those of us in several parts of the country are dealing with an extreme heat wave. So I'm hoping that wherever you are nice and cool and staying hydrated. As you know, every time that I begin the show, I give you some current events. First thing is, if anyone is interested in being a part of the National Parents Union, all you have to do is go onto the website www.nationalparentsunion.org. On there, it will give you the option of being an individual member or an organizational member. If any of you ever need information from the National Parents Union, all you have to do is send an email to info@npunion.org. That email is viewed daily, and responses are also given within a reasonable amount of time for any of you that need some information. If you ever have to reach me, I am at maritza@npunion.org. I always respond to emails. So if you ever need to reach out to me directly, there is my email information below. Family, we have midterms coming up this year. So if there is anyone that needs information that wants to find out certain things, you can go onto our website and click on the Every Family Votes tab. Please understand that every 6 months there is an election going on in this country. And this one is going to be very, very important for a myriad of reasons. There are many people that are trying to create further issues for our rights, for our ability to vote, for our ability to choose, specifically women, what we do with our bodies. For anyone that we know and love that is part of the LGBTQIA community, many things, many scary things, many worrying things are happening. And the only way that we will be able to affect change is by making sure that we register and then making sure that we vote. So please, if you have any questions about that or are uncertain, please go on to the Every Family Votes tab on the National Parents Union page, and hopefully it will answer some of your questions. EPIC, Everyday Parents Impacting Change. Very soon, announcements will be made for all of those organizations and individuals that applied for the EPIC grants to continue doing the work that you do and making sure that you demand transparency from school districts across the country with regards to the millions of dollars that have been allocated since last year to make improvements for all of the children that were affected during the extreme shutdown. And if you do not know, there will be another influx of millions of dollars. The last bulk of it will be made very, very soon by this fall. So it is your right to find out what is happening in your children's school, in your school community, and in your school district. You can go onto the National Parents Union website, click on the EPIC tab, and you can commit to being a part of that campaign to demand information to make sure that everything is okay. Every third Tuesday of the month is the Parent Policy Hour and Ask a Lawyer from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are a parent or a caregiver of a school-age child and there are questions that you just don't know how to get answered, we have the Parent Policy Hour for the first hour, in which our esteemed Policy Director Christina Laster goes over your rights, your child's educational rights. Then we are fortunate enough to have a lawyer come on and answer questions during the show. So if you have any legal questions pertaining to your child's education or a child you take care of in your home, or maybe the child of someone you care about, tune in every third Tuesday on National Parents Union Facebook page. It will be live from 6 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. For those of you that are interested, National Parents Union has regional pages on Facebook We have a Northeast region page, Midwest region page, Texas region, South region, California region, Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands region, and Far West region. So whatever part of the country and the continental United States, including Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands you live in, there is a regional page which will give you local information on upcoming virtual meetings, in-person meetings as they come, and anything that's happening in your region directly you can find out. Philly Families Project Cares Food Pantry open on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. 5911 Larchwood Avenue. For those that are experiencing any kind of food shortage in your home, please feel free to reach out and go there on Saturday, 5911 Larchwood Avenue. Oh, I have some more things here. Oh my goodness. I got to bring it down a little bit more. I'm so sorry. Okay. Now, Camden family. Kids eat free until September 2nd, 2022. Miguel's Pharmacy from 1:15 to 2 o'clock. They will be providing lunch. Alberta Woods Park from 2:15 to 3 p.m. They will be providing an afternoon snack. To learn more, you can go to foodbanksj.org/summer meals. There should be no child that's left hungry during these summer months while they are out of school. I want to give some recognition to some folks. I may not know all of them by name, just a few. But this past weekend, for those of you that are familiar with Northern New Jersey, in the city of Passaic, New Jersey, they finally welcomed back, after 2 years of not being able to have anything out in public, an amazing event called Doing It in the Park at number 11 School Park. And then the Passaic High School alumni football game at Bovary Stadium. When I tell you that it was such a pleasure, so beautiful to see people from all different walks of life, from all different ethnicities that remember the city of Passaic, be educated in the city of Passaic, living in the city of Passaic, working in the city of Passaic. It was both of the events were beautiful. I got to see a lot of people that I hadn't seen in many, many years. This is something that was truly a family and community event. So many children enjoying the free activities, the free food, the music. The food vendors also that were there were amazing. The regular vendors selling their wares were also amazing. When I say to you that not every community is full of hate, not every community is full of bias and insensitivity. There are many communities across this country that love people, that love all people, that want to bring everyone together in a safe environment. And this was definitely it this past weekend. Passaic, New Jersey, thank you very much to Doing It in the Park Committee. Jason Hawes for once again making sure that the Passaic High School alumni football game was a success. He partnered with the city of Passaic and Mayor Hector Laura, and they gave many recognitions to people that were well deserving of it. So thank you very much. Before I bring on my guest, I want to make also a special request to all of you, to many of us. Please, please, please get your yearly physicals, family. Please do so. Too many of us are being stricken and are being called home because we're so busy taking care of others, taking care of our family members, taking care of our loved ones, and we're not taking care of ourselves, especially our heart health. Please make sure that you take care of your heart, of your bodies. Get your yearly physical, get those tests run, get those exams make sure you get it done yearly or as required to make sure that you stay around your loved ones for as long as possible. Please do so. And now, without further ado, I'd like to bring on my guests, and we're going to talk about some wonderful things that her organization is doing for our community here in the city of Philadelphia. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Please introduce yourself and your title for me.
Yes. All right. So my name is Keshema Davidson. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Cristo Rey Philadelphia High School. And within that, my two main functions of my job is jobs, feels like it's multiple jobs, which probably should be, is one to oversee college and career counseling here at our high school. And then I also oversee our Horizons summer program, which is what I know we're going to be talking about here today.
Yes, Horizons. For those of you that do not know, it is called Horizons Summer Camp. And I could tell you about it because I know about it. Mm-hmm. It is a 6-week program. It is an in-person 6-week program, family. It is a program that is providing not only educational enrichment, they're also doing things like yoga. They're making sure your baby's learning how to swim. They're making sure they have people that they brought in to take care and monitor our baby's social and emotional health.
Yeah.
They're teaching, they're showing them, hey, you got to be nice.
Yeah.
And things like that. But I mean, there's so many other things that please add on to it. But what I want to talk about is the importance of community partnerships. Can you talk to our folks about the commitment that Cristo Rey High School made to this community with regard when it came time to erect that beautiful building?
Yeah, absolutely. And we built our school here at 17th and Allegheny, and that's in the Nicetown Tioga section of North Philly. And I've been at the school now for a little bit over 5 years. So I remember before we moved, and the conversations that we had around what the school can do beyond, we have 550 high schoolers that get to come to our school from all over the city, and they get a high quality college prep high school experience at little to no tuition cost. So we're a school that's specifically designed for children that wouldn't normally be able to afford a fancy private school education. And a lot of our discussion with neighbors was about, what can this school mean for them? And it took us a little while. I'd say a lot of, in full transparency, a lot of the conversations were, sometimes it got very intense, right? Because we had neighbors that were very vocal about the fact that they were very disappointed that more children from this immediate zip code were not in our high school. And that's real, right? You look at the numbers and that's the case. Like, there were not kids matriculating from the public schools here into our high school. And they felt very strongly. I remember at one point, one of the conversation topics then became, some neighbors came to us and like, well, we're proposing that you earmark 15% of your admission slots for kids from this neighborhood. And our response to that was, because we're still not at a point in our school where we're turning away kids that meet our admissions criteria. So we're like, that's fine. We're not going to sign a document saying this, but any child in this neighborhood that are prepared academically and meet the income requirement will come to our school. But the challenge was that we were not getting those applications from the immediate to neighborhood school. So we started really exploring what it could be for us to invest in something. We didn't know what the something was yet, but invest in something that would allow for more children from this neighborhood to come to our high school. And once we started exploring, we realized that we had to start very, very early on. And that's how we kind of ended up to where we are right now. So it's very much informed by neighbors. And even when we had our exploratory committee about what we're going to do, the principals from the neighborhood schools were on our exploratory committee. And the question was always, what do you need? Like, we have this idea, but do you need it? Do you think your kids could benefit from it? What do you need in order for us to be a good community partner to you, and will ultimately lead to the Cristo Rey education being afforded to more children in this neighborhood. So,
and that's you touched on so many things, because I know for a fact from my experience, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. My daughter applied,
mm-hmm.
and she lives in this neighborhood, and she met all the academic criteria, but they said that we unfortunately were too high on the income level.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I wasn't happy. I was like, oh my gosh, because she went through the placement test and all that. Mm-hmm. But I understand. We understood.
Yeah.
That happens. And then she found something that was an excellent fit for her. She's going to be senior next year. But Cristo Rey decided to do something, and I don't know if you guys have replicated it across your other schools, across your network, but to gain the community's trust, you guys said, you know what? We're going to have a program, and we're going to start, just like you said, we're going to make an investment in the youth. So I remember, because I saw the emails about that when I was still a secretary at one of the local schools, and you guys were committed to accepting children that were rising kinder and first graders. But explain to folks what your intention was in accepting rising kinder and first graders into your Horizon summer camp. What would happen? What would be the plan for that admission?
Yeah. So we're very intentional, and I know especially the principal from one of those schools was with us from the very beginning, even before we started like deciding if this is what we wanted. I went to her and I was like, hey, I'm from Cristo Rey, around the corner, we're trying to figure this thing out. What would be beneficial to you? And she explained to me her vision for the academic growth for children at her school. Like, she was like, this is where we're scoring now. I'd really like to she's like, my dream is for my school to be a blue ribbon school, is what she said. And she's like, it involves us really raising the stakes around literacy support for children here so that they can grow academically. And she's like, and there were other things she wanted to. She just wanted the school to feel differently. She wanted to get different carpets in there, different, and our intention was, we found a model, the Horizons model, that it has been replicated all over the country. Not necessarily always in a Cristo Rey like school. They are at predominantly highly driven tuition-based schools. So it is out of the norm for a school like ours to do this.
Yeah.
And when I say that, like the kind of like longest standing Horizons program in the region is at Episcopal Academy. And if you know anything about Episcopal Academy, it is a college tuition price tag, like to go to in their lower school. So it is different. It is kind of out of the norm for our school to do this. But the model very much says that the children start in kindergarten and first grade, and that they continue in the program every summer until the 8th grade. And for us, our only criteria for this was that the children had to live in this neighborhood. I think there's definitely an argument to be made for having more criteria other than that. But that was my only criteria, was that you had to live in this neighborhood. And then you had to make a commitment that, unless you moved out of the city, or that we are not meeting the needs of your child and your child isn't happy here, like, that you would continue every summer. So if we're doing this and we're doing it well, your child is happy, they're growing with us, you have to commit that you're gonna continue with us, and also make a commitment to just be in this with us. Like if I call you and I'm explaining the challenges we're having with your child, like you're in partnership with us to support your child. So that really is the idea behind them starting in kindergarten. It's that they'll continue every summer until the 8th grade, at which point hopefully we know that we want them to either matriculate to our high school, or what I say to families, or to any high quality high school that your family feels is a good fit for your child.
And that's the thing. When I heard about that, I jumped on it. I was like, oh, let me get my little one in. So the first one was in there. I was a little saddened when I saw that some folks were like, no, that's okay. I want to give my child a break. I want
Yeah.
to have fun. And I'm like, why? I was surprised that
Yeah.
that it was like, what do you mean? You're talking about when it began, when you began this.
Mhm.
We were still in the throes of some
COVID,
form of
yeah.
shutdown, and
Yeah.
families were scrambling and wonder what they were going to do, and struggling with having to take care of their child that was a rising kinder or first grader to then be able to go to work. And I was like, why not have this child enrolled in this program?
Yeah.
If your child was a student at one of these 2 local schools, and they'll have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time, Miracle was there, and the other 2 little ones had to stay home, and she would be sad, and
Yeah.
they would be sad. Where's she going? Oh, she's going to camp. Well,
And now they're all with us. Yeah.
Wait till next year, and that was like, yay!
Yeah.
We go to Cristo Rey summer camp, and we're having fun at Horizons.
Yeah. And
they're still learning.
Yeah, and I definitely get the challenge of, because we're in our second summer, and last summer how I felt, we decided we're going to start with, we could have just started with 15 kids, but I was like, let's start with 30. But how I fill those slots is those principals saying, all right, I'm going to push this out to my families. I'm going to send flyers home. The kindergarten teachers, the first grade teachers are going to talk to parents about it. But then even then, I still didn't fill all the spots. And this is what I'm talking about, partnership. What the principals then did, they were like, all right, the one woman, she's like, here's a list of all our kindergartners and the name of their parents and their phone number. You can call them. And one by one, I called every single kindergartner at those schools. And I said, a lot of parents hung up on me, but the ones that did, because, I'm like, hi, I'm Keshema. I'm calling from the summer program. Then I have to tell them what it's all about, because we were new and nobody knew. We didn't have a track record. So I called every single parent, and there isn't one parent from any of those calls that expressed interest and actually got back to me that their child isn't in this program. Every single one of them that said, I'm interested, I made sure I followed up with them, and their child is with us. And there were families that said that they weren't interested. And what's unfortunate is that, the more, now we're in our second summer, I've had to say no to some families this year, unfortunately. And even though some of the same, once word kind of spreads about what's going on, then there are more families. And I'm like, I reached out to you. There's one woman, I was like, I spoke to you. You said that you were interested. You never, I was like, I can show, I was like, all the emails and calls. I was like, you never got back to me. So unfortunately, it's too late.
Yes.
But, we, in our second summer, I'd say we enrolled 52. I was supposed to only enroll 45. Most of the children from last summer, with the exception of 3 children, came back, which was great, which is what we wanted.
Yes.
Enrolled a new class of kindergartners. And we started enrollment at 52. 3 of them never showed up. And one child asked not to return, unfortunately, because of challenges that we felt like was way beyond the scope of what we can provide. So we ended with 48 or 47, which is beyond even, our goal was 45. So that still puts us a little bit over enrollment. But when I enrolled the 52nd child, I don't even ask permission. I'm like, if there's a family, there were some families I just couldn't say no to. And, I would tell our president, I was like, I'm doing one more. And he's like, just keep going. However many kids you think that we have the ability to support, just do it. If the family and the child needs it and this is their only option, the answer is yes.
And see, this kind of commitment is what I honestly feel, Keshema, is needed with many more entities in our community. They also need to say, you know what, we're going to invest in our children to make sure they're successful. And because a lot of people, in talking to folks, they're our future. They're going to be taking care of us when we get older. They're going to be voting for who's going to be running this country, running this city. They're going to be then the future teachers, future educators. So as much, we need more investments from more community organizations, for more, more private schools if needed. The public schools are doing the best that they can, but here you go. Your school is now a resource for 2 schools in our community that have been struggling, that definitely do need. And then you even went ahead and added, although it's its first year, you then added an aftercare to help, I believe, and explain that. What made you come to that decision to do that?
You know what? I literally, in week 2 of our program last summer, once we started doing it and we got a lay of the land, I went to a couple people here, and back then I wasn't on the leadership team of the school. I'm on the leadership team now, but I went to them and I was like, if y'all want me to do this, we have to be all in. Like, this is cute in the summertime for 6 weeks. It's a fun experience, but I'm like, but the children that we're serving, I was like, if we're going to commit to doing this every summer, we're going to have to start over with some of the children.
Yes.
Right. Because we're going to go all in over those 6 weeks, and we're going to teach them all the things, and we're going to remind them that they don't, that they don't yell at each other, and they don't hit each other, and they don't, and then they're going to go back to school. And sometimes, not all the times, but they might be in an environment where their teacher's yelling at them all the time, right? But in the summertime, I tell every staff member, I'm like, we're not yelling at children. I was like, cut it out. We don't yell at children. We give them options. They understand consequences if they don't do what they're supposed to do. But we're not yelling at kids. And, so we're doing all these things over these 6 weeks, and they might go back into an environment, in an educational environment, where the same principles are not being applied. So it makes, every summer when we start with them, we're having to reteach them all the things, right? So it was very evident to us that if we're going to do this, we have to be all in, and all in means that it's not just 6 weeks in the summertime, but it's also after school as well. So we started in our first year with the after school program twice a week. And the beauty of a true community partnership is that we're in this neighborhood. So us going over to these schools to pick the kids up, all I have to do is send a yellow school bus, and it takes them 10 minutes to get there. Right. So it's not like we're driving an hour.
Yes.
So it allowed for us to have the after school program twice a week this year. And our goal going into this upcoming school year is to have the after school program 3 days a week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that cushion in between the middle of the week, which we're really excited about. And if you come here, I'm sure you've seen, if you come here after school during the year, you go outside and you see like our high schoolers doing TikToks with little kids, and they're throwing balls around, and it's a beautiful sight for all of us.
Oh my God. It's like they're already going to have their own built-in mentors and people that are a little bit closer to their age that understand the new stuff. And it's like, my children came home was it Friday? Yeah, it had to be Friday. And they were like, we're TikTokers now.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how are you TikTokers? Tell me how you're a TikToker when you don't even have a phone. Oh, so had, some of our teachers had their phones and they were having us do a dance. So now we're TikTokers. I said, okay, great. I want to see these. I want to see them.
And that's a really good example because we're supposed to go to the movies on Friday. And this is what I'm saying, like, that we're building up that muscle, right, of young people understanding that, like there's a line between, like, there are things that you need to do, right? But then sometimes you might have choice, right? And we had a movie day and we just all had to sit and watch a movie. And the vast majority of them could not handle it. And multiple times it was, all right, I'm not going to yell at everyone, but just so you know, if you're not able to do this, I'm not taking you to the movies on Friday.
That's right.
And the result of that was that they didn't get to go to the movies. So we had to reimagine. I know there was a lot of broken hearts I was like, what does it mean to be in a community, right? It means that even though it was that other person in your class that was causing, chaos, if we're in this community together, one person's actions reflects badly on everyone. So we just have to all try really hard just to be really good community members. So because of that, movies was canceled, a lot of broken hearts for the movies, but we ended up doing some little stations instead. And one of the stations was a TikTok station. They got to go to a TikTok room and learn different TikToks and stuff. So
oh my gosh. It was just so funny. And I'm like, what? Yeah. You guys also made a commitment to show the children a life skill, which is learning how to swim. And a lot of our children, depending on where you live, they don't have access to a pool. They don't have access to a facility that would offer lessons and it be free or low cost. Everything is expensive. And I don't care, if they try to go to, the Croc Center, they want to go to the Y. All these things are extremely, I'm so sorry. Why are people calling me that? All of these things are extremely expensive with the rising cost of food and gas and energy. And families are like, I wish I could, but your program made a commitment as well to, our children are going to be a part of the program. Twice a week, they're going to go to the Y. And it's not, the families aren't stressed about, oh my gosh, I have to get a bathing suit. I have to get some trunks. You guys are providing that as well.
Yeah.
And that to me is something that absolutely needs to be lauded. Oh my, they're trying to come in here. They're trying to come in here.
Maybe they heard my voice.
Please go back over there. Please go back over there. They're like, it's two of them at the door. No. But, all of these things and my purpose is so that all these other entities out in the community, out across the country, it can work.
Yeah.
If you make a commitment to the children and families in your immediate community, it should not be a case of the haves and have-nots. There should be organizations in your community that are willing to invest in the children from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely agree that if you and that team of folks over at Cristo Rey hadn't decided, you know what, we're going to listen to the adults in the community and they're telling us that they need something for the children, you guys listen to that call. And I'm quite sure that all of the families whose children attend the program are benefiting from what you guys are, the decision you guys made. And I think it's an awesome thing.
Yeah. And there are two things. The how we go about resources. I'm always thinking like there are going to be families that don't need it. And I'll take our food, we do the farm stand on Fridays, right? There are families that they're like, I'm good. I got it. I don't need that, right? But then there are families that might need it. And then there's some families that actually really need it, right? So it's not for me to decide that you need, you are having food insecurity and you're not. Like, my job is to make it available to everyone, right? And then you can, in the most, then if you need it, you need it, right? Same thing with the swim trunks. It's like, some kids are like, I don't even want your swim trunks. I got my own. And like, that's fine, right? But I'm still going to give it to everyone, right? And you and your family can decide if you don't want to wear it this week or if you prefer to wear your own or whatever. But everyone gets access to the same things, right? Because you never know what families are going through in that moment. And it might not be their permanent situation, but it could just be 1 week. I'm like, I just need it like this 1 week, it's rough, and I just need this one thing. Right. And then the other piece I want to touch on is the swimming. And it's I try to be as upfront with families in the beginning about, and I try to be upfront with the kids too. I'm always like, money doesn't grow on trees, right? Like these things cost a lot of money, right? So I always want the children, our high schoolers and our little ones to understand that, you know, that this opportunity, what they have here, it's not, they need to grow up with an awareness of the fact that these things just don't magically appear, right, out of thin air. And it doesn't mean, it's not like you need to be telling people thank you every day, but just have that awareness. Like this is something that costs money. And for us, the summer program alone is costing us probably like $2,600 per student, right? $2,600 per student. And we have 48 kids, right? So like 2,600 multiplied by 48, right? So it does cost money, right? But my job, a big part of my job is to go out and find people who are willing to invest financially in children and in the growth and development of young kids in our neighborhood.
Yes.
And that's how we go about doing that. And the Y, you know, is a good example of that because it costs us a lot of money for those kids to learn how to swim twice a week at the Y. But they've been a great partner. And what I love about doing it at that Columbia North Y is that all the instructors are Black young people.
Yes.
I love that the kids get to see, you know, other people that look like them teaching them this very important life skill.
Yes. And again, they're seeing someone that's not like one of the adults. It's someone that's close in age.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, maybe I want to become an instructor, or maybe I want to become a strong swimmer. And then when I'm old enough to work, I can work at the Y and show other young children how to swim.
Yeah.
You know, and it's what you're doing is creating that cascading effect, but it's all about that bond. Those kids are creating memories right now of, oh my gosh, I remember, you know, I was going to the Y twice a week. They won't forget it. Yeah. I mean, my children come home all excited and they're like, I was underwater today and I'm starting to go on a deep side. And then the pictures that you're sharing are absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
So and that's what we all need to demand of everyone. And it's it's a partnership, not just with you or with the Y, but it's a partnership with the parents and families in the community.
Yeah.
All you're asking is that you make sure the children show up every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way I go about the parent piece is that I'm always, you know, sometimes I'll just send, I'm sure you notice, I'll just send a random picture, right, of your child coming by. And I try to do that on a weekly basis because one, I don't want my interactions with parents to only be if their child is misbehaving, right? Like everybody's child, for the most part, they're beautiful, happy children that they come here and they act wild sometimes, but you know, like your child is a beautiful child. And if I see a cute picture that somebody snapped on their phone, then, you know, I want to make sure that the family sees that. So I'm very conscious of my only interactions with families and with parents. It should not be only when their child is misbehaving, and that we need to go out of our way to lift up those positive moments and those just ordinary moments that children are having. So we started to paint a full picture, right, of who they are as a whole person, not just the little glimpse of the time and they might have a meltdown about something.
Oh, even today I asked Miracle, I said, Miracle, why do you have a name tag on? Doesn't everybody know your name? She's like, it was for the yoga instructor today. Yeah. So I was like, what? So You guys are providing these children with things that they're not used to seeing. They haven't really been exposed to, depending on where they've gone to school. Some schools actually are intentional about doing things like that, but you're giving them things that they'll be able to draw back on and say, "Oh my gosh." And I already know, and you could explain. I already know that there were families that said, "Well, I don't live in a 19140, or my children don't attend these two particular schools that you chose to start this program with. Why can't we register?"
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and this is why we don't, like, what happens the most is children, parents of our high schoolers that reach out and they're like, well, my child goes to your high school. Why can't I send my child up for this? And my answer is that this is for children in this neighborhood. So, I'm like, there are a couple kids in the program whose older siblings go to our high school, but that's not because their sibling goes to our high school. It's because they live in this neighborhood.
Right. That's right.
So we are unapologetic about that because our high school, like, we're upfront. We have kids that come to us from Camden for our high school, and we provide them with transportation. So we're unapologetic that our high school is for any child in the greater Philadelphia region that wants to go to a college prep high school. And we are unapologetic about that this Horizons program is for children in this neighborhood. And I don't feel any type of way saying that to a family, because that was our intention in creating it. And we also think there's a huge need in these schools and in this neighborhood. So if we were at a point where it's like, like, we're trying really hard and we're not getting kids from the neighborhood that have a need for this, then, the conversation would be different. Like, maybe we should expand the sort of our geographical focus, but we're not at that place where we feel like all the needs are met in this neighborhood and there are no kids that want this.
Well, I can attest to any family out there that's in the 19140 that needs a someone to attest to what's going on and the wonderful work that you guys are doing with this program, with the aftercare that was provided last school year, with the upcoming aftercare for an additional day that's going to be happening this school year. You guys are really following through with your commitment to the children in this community. And I want to tell you, thank you so very much. And then for all those parents and guardians that come in there on Fridays and see, oh my gosh, they're giving away, produce.
Mm-hmm.
And, just grab a bag and grab some. You are really answering the needs of all the community. And and I want to thank you for that.
Yeah.
You guys are doing amazing work. You're always going to have my support.
Thank you.
My hope is that next year, you're gonna be like, no, we have a wait list now, and it's gonna be first come, first serve, and you got to follow the deadline, or I'm sorry, you're not gonna be able to attend.
Yeah. And we're on track to probably do that. And I think, the way that I've gone about sort of like other things that we've added, like the farm stand, is that, it's a very basic principle, right? Children can't learn unless all their other needs are being met, right? Like, if a child is hungry, if a child is going through housing insecurity, if a child is, like, in my mind, them learning math and like literacy comes secondary to their mental and spiritual and just basic needs being met. So we can work wonders with our literacy work, right? But if a child is going through something, or if they're not, like, they're never gonna really perform at their highest potential in an academic setting. So there is definitely that is the lens that we're viewing everything through. Like, how are we caring, as we say with our high school, caring for the whole person, right? That will allow children to grow and develop into the best versions of themselves.
Oh my goodness. Miss Davidson, thank you so much.
This
And I know you already told me that you have a commitment at 5 o'clock, and you know I want to be respectful of your time and allow you to do whatever you need to do before it's time for you to be at that event going on at this high school right now. So I want to thank you as a community partner. I truly am benefiting from what the commitment your organization is offering to not just my children, but all the other children that are fortunate enough to be a part of this program and are going to continue being a part. And like I said, I'm going to fully, like when when school starts back up, I'm going to talk to them and be like, hey, don't sleep, do not rest on this opportunity, because this is something that not everyone is able to have. So get your child in there when the enrollment for this program comes up.
Yeah.
You will not regret it. It will be wonderful. If anyone is curious about it, who would they reach out to?
They can definitely reach out to me. I'll put I
put your email in the private chat, and I'll share it out.
Yeah, and then I'd be happy to talk to families, and
this is definitely something that needs to be replicated.
Yes,
I mean, in all parts of the country, because there's nothing but people are always saying we need to do this and we need to do that. But you guys are, look at this, I put it in the same thing. You guys are actually doing it, and you guys have set up a very good blueprint for it. And I want to make sure that people understand that this is what it's about. But I know you gotta go. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me on, and for just your ongoing support, and for spreading the good word about what we're doing. None of this is possible. Like, we can't do this on our own, right? It's us and parents and community leaders and principals and teachers, and like, we're all in this together. And we just really appreciate all the support that you've given us, and you're just sharing about what we're doing.
That's it. That's all I want. That's what I'm here for. Yeah. Anytime I see something good and positive and worthwhile and worth mentioning, I absolutely want to share the information. See, Pascal is tuning in from Maryland, and she's like, please. So yeah, I can tell you all about it, Pascal. Believe me. I know you got to go. I'm going to say some final thoughts and give out some other announcements that I probably forgot in my excitement for having you on. But thank you so much, and the children will see you tomorrow.
Well, I'll see them tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for everyone that's been on here, that's been tuning in today. This conversation, I hope it sparks something in you. It lights a fire for you to demand more of all these entities in your community that are coming in, that are moving in, that are taking up space in your community and are not giving back. They're not giving back. They're not investing in our future. They're not investing in the current situations in your communities. Demand more. Say, hey, what are you doing here? You're moving in here. You got a pretty building set up. You're taking up our parking spaces. You're making property taxes go up. But what are you giving back? What are you giving back to us as members of a community? What are you giving our children? How are you going to improve the community as a whole by taking up this space? This is the kind of program, or any other community program that you should be demanding of anyone that comes in. And even for the existing programs, there are many programs that have been around for years and have yet to give a substantial contribution to the community. It should not just be about trying to get something from us and siphoning our gifts and siphoning our energy. It has to be reciprocated. It has to go both ways. So for all of you that have programs, that I see you doing what you have to do, I thank you and I appreciate you. And if you want to come on here and talk to us and talk to me and share what you're doing in your community, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to have you on. Now, I think I forgot a few things. For those of you that live in the ATL, in Atlanta, there is something called the Big Old Kids Party. Remember all the things you used to do as a child, the games, the sports, the music? Well, a gentleman here that runs the Eco Foundation has taken it on the road. They will be in Atlanta this Saturday to have a big old kids party. So here is the website. They're going to have tickets available. It'll be a fun time, believe me. And if you attend, ask for Eli Capella. And if he's there, he'll let you know who he is in relation to me. For those of you that do not know, I want to make sure I got everything here and I didn't miss anything else. Yes, that was, nope, I got everything else. I will add the other links for the programs. I'm going to give you back a few minutes of your day. I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. Next week, I will not be having a show. I will be at the LULAC Convention, National Convention in San Juan, Puerto Rico. But do not be surprised if I show up on Facebook Live during that amazing event. LULAC is the oldest Latin American nonprofit organization in the United States. And I will be there representing the National Parents Union in the hopes of meeting a lot more organizations that are doing that wonderful work of making sure that everyone has the right and privileges as everyone else. I want to put this last comment in here. Oh, and I want to add this in here too. I like this comment and I appreciate it. I'm going to read it out. For outside organizations coming into the community, what are they actually bringing to the table? Are they taking space without refilling our cups? Are they helping build our capacities and helping us achieve our goals? Those are the absolute questions. Thank you so very much. So, everyone, please stay safe, stay cool, stay hydrated. Check on your elders and your young folks and anyone with breathing issues in this intense heat. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday and a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you.